Our coverage continues on the school shooting in Texas and what we learned today from the head of the Texas Department of Public Safety. Today, authorities admitted the wrong decision was made and police should have entered the school earlier.
It was a wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that. But again, I wasn't there, but I'm just telling you, from what we know, we believe there should have been an entry at that as soon as you can.
And joining us now to try and help make sense of all this, retired State Police Lieutenant J. Paul Vance, the WFSB law enforcement analyst. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. First of all,
thank you for having me.
Of course. So first of all, let's begin with your reaction to the new developments that you learned about this investigation and how they handled the response.
Well, certainly it was an active shooter response. You heard the colonel, the Texas Rangers say that specifically. But he also said he wasn't there. And I can understand that. In other words, the officers that were there took what they had at face value and made their decisions accordingly. The colonel said that, looking at it now, the wrong decision was made. An active shooter situation would cause one in law enforcement to gather a team and enter immediately. That didn't happen. But one thing we have to think about is the fact that the investigation is into 21 homicides. And the Texas Rangers and all the local, state, and federal agencies that are helping are going to have to answer all the questions: the who, the what, the where, and the why. And what that means is they have to interview witnesses. They have to examine all the facts. They have to look at the evidence. It's going to take time before we get real, true answers.
And it sounds like they talked about active shooting training today, and it sounds like officers were trained in this. In your opinion, what happened here?
I can tell you in Connecticut, after Columbine and after all other tragedies like that occurred, we in law enforcement learned from an after-action report that will also, I'm sure, be filed here in Texas when this investigation is done. And you look and see what went right and what went wrong, and you enter that into your training. In Connecticut, we had every single state trooper in Connecticut go through active shooter training, actual on-site training, going through buildings, going through a hallway, going to school classrooms. And it was done for a purpose. It was done to make sure that if we ever had another tragedy like we had in Newtown, we would react perfectly. We would get in there and end that aggression. And that's what needs to be understood.
Such a tough situation. You were a first responder during Newtown. How has this week been for you, and how are you doing?
Well, I got to be honest with you. It breaks my heart every time you think about it, think about the families they're going through. I think about the first responders, all of them, all the people that are involved in the investigation. This is a very, very difficult situation, especially 19 of those deceased are babies, and it rips your heart out. I hope and I pray that all law enforcement will learn from this tragedy, take their learning, implement it into their training, and put it into their law enforcement response toolbox. God forbid it should happen again.
Good advice. Thank you so much. Retired Lieutenant J. Paul Vance. I appreciate it.
Thank you.